Well, Eric, I almost want to start by complaining about the finishes on tonight's show, especially that tag team title match. But I think the reaction of the Saudi Arabia crowd says it all, but we'll get to that. We got to start with Word Life, Thugonomics, making its return tonight. You know, we all wondered last week after, or days ago, after the Cena just complete demolishing of CM-Punk with content and material that Punk just can't respond to in Saudi Arabia. You know, I'm not Mr. TKO, I'm not Mr. Corporate. Like, obviously, there's material that Cena had to work with that was tough for Punk to come back from. But Punk had to be given some time to reply. So he got to come out, and the idea was Cena stole, and I get the setup. Cena stole the pipe bomb promo, so now Punk is going to steal Cena's old Thugonomics gimmick from 2 decades ago. I was getting some, I say it was cringy, had some Kendall Roy from the Succession vibes. I don't know if you watched that show, but frankly, that's what I was thinking pretty much the whole time Punk was in the ring. It was a tough spot for Punk to be in. I get the spirit of it. I think the fact that the crowd was cheering for him helped make up for the fact that it was, I thought, kind of cringy. But it was also cringy fun. I mean, like, I just don't know if that's an era that Cena's all that ashamed of. It just was, you know, an era years ago. It's nothing that Cena should be all that ashamed of. So, yeah, I'm still processing it. I mean, I don't think it's a big comeback for Punk, but I think the fact that he had a chance to respond, did so in kind of a fun, you know, mid-40-year-old cringy way, was better than nothing. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing I was starting to think was, okay, how are we casting the entire Roy family in WWE? And I don't even want to go down that route because that's a mistake.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yep.
But I remember thinking, how can Punk come back from being completely emasculated last week? And I don't know who on their bingo card had this, but I didn't see anyone talking about this as a possibility, even though it kind of seems obvious now. It's the exact opposite, so might as well do this. Like you, I don't want to sit here and grade anyone's freestyle rap skills. I thought some of the lines were pretty clever, but yep. I feel icky trying to compare his rapping versus John Cena's. So I just wanted to enjoy it for the clunky mess that it was.
And I think what the key here is did Punk come across as self-aware that he was going to be Kendall Roy, that this was going to be cringy, embarrassing, and yeah. And I don't know. You know, I don't know if there was I think Punk would have benefited from some self-deprecation built into that. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, again, this is very fresh. I'm trying to process it. But I don't know. I mean, we'll get to the chat room comments because there's a variety of thoughts on this and try to give our thoughts first here. I think if Punk had said something a little self-deprecating, like, well, you know, I mean, it's rough. I mean, last week was rough. He's had a rough week with, you know, the footage that went viral of him kind of pushing the kid aside, which I didn't think was that big of a deal. It wasn't a good look, but I mean, it was gentle. It's like, hey, come on, I'm been a long road to travel. I'm sympathetic to your worst moment of the day being caught on camera and then defining you. And then obviously, you know, there's some baggage with Punk in Saudi Arabia and what he said. So, I mean, it's weird, and I don't know if it felt different live because this aired on internationally on Next live hours ago, and then on tape delay on USA, and they got to fix up the Cody Orton segment as a result. And I haven't had a chance to hear from anybody who saw it live, and if it looked different, if the chat watched it live and then are joining us. Thank you. Let us know if there's anything different in terms of crowd reaction or anything. But my thinking is, even though it's Punk. It was cringy, and I don't know if Punk's super excited and proud of this. I think they're relieved it didn't go worse for Punk because he got some good crowd reactions, and it in a way it just says, you know, maybe Punk wasn't actually permanently damaged by what happened with Cena. Eric.
Yeah, there was a point earlier in the show where they mentioned Punk and the crowd erupted. So at that point, I felt like Punk was safe tonight and that he was going to have the fans no matter what. And I felt like this was a perfect way to distract them from everything else, all of the other concerns. Nobody expected this. So like people didn't even have time to process it like we are right now. So they're just sitting there, just enjoying what's happening. And it does feel like Punk would have been best served to maybe practice this with somebody. I don't know if he maybe ran through it with his wife or something, but if he ran through it with anyone the way that he put it out there today live, they didn't give him enough feedback because, like you said, it needed some sort of self-deprecating line just to let us know that he was in on the joke too. But I did like it.
That's
I thought it was
and that's it. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I'm not bending over backwards to be charitable. Like, I do think there was something about Punk putting himself out there like that as a comeback that was sort of endearing and all that. But But again, is that what CM Punk's fans want? Is I'm kind of cringing, but he put himself out there so he gets a participation ribbon. It wasn't cool, but he tried. I mean, Cena destroyed him last week, and this was just a middle-aged guy who's not very good at rapping, who didn't seem maybe embarrassed enough at how not good he was. I don't know. I don't want. He's had a hard week. I don't want to be too hard on him. And I mean, what this tells me is a week ago or whatever they said, all right, let's do let's each have a moment. I'll do the pipe bomb, you do thugonomics, and it just turned out Cena's better at this than Punk, and even more so, Cena had more material. And I would argue, and I stand by it, that I think Cena went places that felt like he was more interested in scoring points and winning against Punk to prove something about how he can step up and really be authentic and serious and edgy. And I think for the betterment of Punk and WWE and beyond 6 months, and frankly tomorrow, I would have dialed back some of the stuff because it rang too true. The fact is what you say negative about Punk now just completely undercuts the foundation, at least I'd say a majority. I mean, the majority, Punk has innate charisma and a bond that's timeless and great memories and all that, but the anti-corporate, anti-establishment, voice of the voiceless, Cena just, completely tore apart. And I guess I wouldn't say this about other people Cena's gone after, Roman Reigns or especially The Rock. They can take it. Punk was vulnerable on this, and it kind of came across as kind of mean and selfish for Cena to go as hard as he did. What's Punk going to do? Go, oh, don't be too mean to me? He can't say that. He's in no position to say anything. He ended up damaged, and in that sense, I feel a little bad for him. And this wasn't great. This wasn't a home run comeback. But you have a bald spot, and you're not as good of an actor as Batista. And people chant you can't wrestle, and you supposedly buried people, although really, did he? I don't know. I think that's always kind of blown out of proportion. So I don't know. I just don't. What do you think? Honestly, what do you think? Well, say what you want, but also include what do you think Punk's best line was in terms of scoring?
Oh, his best line.
Like, was there anything about Cena that landed where it's like, oh, okay, at least,
right. I didn't think anything was terrific. Like, most of it wasn't bad other than the strange Hulk Hogan line that I barely even understood.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that. The stuff about James Gunn's underwear, that didn't really ring true for me.
No. Yeah.
It started off better.
Yeah.
Probably the line about Batista, but he didn't even nail that right. I felt like he really had something there he could have worked with because Batista's done such a great job as an actor, but he kind of just fumbled that line too. It all made me wonder. I know one of the things last week we all thought was horrible was that he had to lay there for 10 minutes through that broken table, but I think it would have been worse if he had stood up and Cena had just said, "So what do you stand for now?" What could Punk have said to that? Like, he would have just had to stand there silent and not been able to say anything.
You stand for something.
Yeah. You stand up, but you stand for nothing.
Yeah.
So this could have been worse for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to try to rebook what happened, when Cena tore him down, like, I think there's a level of what happened there that isn't really tweakable to being okay. I think because I believe, and I know there's people I talk to in WWE who believe that, this was settling some old scores with Cena. I'm sorry, this was Cena settling some old scores for other people with Punk. I don't think Cena's got a huge issue with Punk. I mean, I think a little bit, you left and you buried us and you could have heard us. I think some of that's there, but I think it's even more so with some other people. And I think Cena just was like, like I said, I think Cena enjoyed his text messages after tearing down a Punk like he did. I think he got probably a lot of praise from people he respects going, yeah, Punk needed that humbling. Now it was sort of like Aleister Black. Now we're even. It almost felt like, okay, now we're even. And in that sense, I guess it could be good for Punk because he got torn up bad. So sorry. Anyway, I don't think there's a tweak that would make that much better, and almost anything might have ended up introduce ourselves, and then I'm excited to get to the chat because a lot of opinions on that opening segment. Eric and I have made our thoughts known, and we'll respond to those comments. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Friday, June 27th, 2025, and I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter. Oh, I have it when I have it in, I hold it up. There's an actual paper copy with the headline of what we're talking about. Cena clowns Punk in promo, gets cheered. My cover story detailed what I thought of it and what my sources were telling me about it. So if you want to read that in PDF format or alt text format, you can be a PWTorch VIP member and see what I had to say about it. And PWTorch.com/GoVIP is the way to get information on VIP membership. There are all kinds of ways to sign up: credit card, debit card, PayPal, through Patreon, through Spotify, and also with your Apple account, all with kind of different benefits and tiers. Check it all out, PWTorch.com/GoVIP. I also am host of the Wade Keller Post Shows and Wade Keller Podcasts and a variety of other shows that are VIP exclusive. I will be part of a VIP exclusive post Night of Champions roundtable tomorrow late afternoon with Rich Fan and Todd Martin. And then also we'll have a live post show right here on the PWTorch YouTube channel, live streaming after Night of Champions. Greg Park's back in the hosting chair for that episode, and he'll be joined by Paul Wegley. I think I probably said his name wrong. I haven't practiced enough. Sorry, Paul. And they'll be talking about that show tomorrow live, and then that'll go on the PWTorch Dailycast podcast feed to download as a podcast afterwards. Search PWTorch in your podcast. Show. All right. So the other voice you hear on the podcast side of things and face and voice you hear on our live YouTube channel is Eric Corbridge. He is a first-time co-host and a new contributor to PWTorch. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. As Wade said, I started contributing maybe 3 months ago, doing the alternative perspective Smackdown report every Friday night. And Wade was gracious enough to give me the chance to join him here tonight, something I've been looking forward to, honestly, for quite a long time. And I've been a Torch reader since probably the mid-90s. And I'll never forget when I was just, honestly, for you, Wade, I'll never forget standing in my house and somebody handed me a copy of the Torch. And I said, what is this? It just blew my mind. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And I've been hooked on this ever since. So I'm really happy.
Well, that's fantastic. Here. I understand well, it's great to have you. I cut out a little bit earlier. We'll fix that production with some phone footage from Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Whatever they did with Cody and Orton, I have to learn what they did. Were you able to hear me, Eric, or did I cut out a little bit?
You cut out a little bit.
Or am I still cutting out?
Right now.
Have I been back now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Good. I don't know what happened, but I tried to make sure I wasn't using up excess internet in any other way. Okay, cool. Well, Eric, it is great to have you here. That's a great story. You go way back with the Torch. Tell people about what you're doing now, your contributions, and kind of just a little bit more about your what about professional wrestling holds your interest after being a fan this long?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm in my mid 40s, so I've been watching since probably the late 80s with Hogan and Savage and the WWF. What really kind of got me where there was no turning back was, surprisingly enough, 1994 timeframe with the Shawn Razor ladder match and the Bret Hart Owen Hart feud. That kind of really reeled me in. I remember watching WrestleMania 10 through squiggly lines on television that I couldn't order it, but I could still, if you turned to the channel at the right time, you could hear the audio, and I was listening to it even though I couldn't watch it. That was really fun. So what intrigues me is I enjoy good matches. I've always been fascinated by the industry and, learning how they put on these performances, but then more so the storytelling. For me, it's always been about the storytelling. If you tell me a good story, I'm going to get into it. And now I'm writing the Friday night alternative perspectives report for Smackdown. And I've been enjoying doing that. And it gives me a newfound respect on how difficult that is.
Yes, for sure. Are you 1/3 less excited about next week and all the weeks going forward with the show being back from 2 hours?
I may have mentioned that in my report tonight, actually. I said, as somebody who lives here on the East Coast, I'm not complaining about it going back to 2 hours.
And there had been a report that the USA wanted a 3-hour show at least through fall, and I didn't hear anything official on that, but yeah, that's I think it's good news. I mean, I think 2 hours is a better length for a wrestling show than 3. WWE got good at it with Raw. I mean, they did. I mean, it was terrible for a while, and they kind of get good at it. They had talent depth, and I think better writing and better stories. But it's been a bit of a slog, a little more often than I'd like in recent months on SmackDown. So this is good. I'm seeing my Wi-Fi, unfortunately, kind of still bouncing from 100% to something less than that in my little bar. So that's on my side of things. So I don't know. We'll hopefully that'll work itself out. What was I just saying? I'm not good with technical issues. Well, oh yeah, the 2 hours of SmackDown. So I think it's good. I think it's good for the show. I mean, I sometimes you'd say, well, wait a second, it's going to cut back on some talent making air. But I don't know. I don't have that feeling about the roster right now. I think that they've been stretching it out a little bit more than is beneficial, frankly, to some of the talent who are getting overexposed or aren't ready to have the TV time that they've been given. So yeah, I won't be mourning this cutback. Okay, let's get. Oh, go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I feel like this show is the perfect example of why they don't need 3 hours. There were some matches that dragged on a little too far and they didn't need that much time. And there's not quite enough talent, like you said. I think this can only be a positive because they do have enough talent to make a strong 2-hour show every week. Oh, I think you might have frozen again, Wade.
Yep, I was trying a different Wi-Fi channel, but that didn't work. So now I'm back with a decent one, but not the alternate that I hoped would click in right away. Okay, let's throw up some of those comments in the chat from. We have a nice audience tonight for a show that was pre-taped the night before Night of Champions. So that's good to see. Sometimes when results get out ahead of time, so to speak. I mean, it's a live show; it's not so much ahead of time, but you'd expect a drop off. But there's some interest there. So let's get some of these comments up and respond. Fassel is up first, and oh no, I'm lagging again. There we are. Kyle Fassel says Punk tonight was so way out of character. No pun intended. I felt secondhand embarrassment. That's not good, and I'm not sure how many people felt. Bart High said corny comedy pro after last week. A Milano though said corny comedy pro. I'm sorry. He said cringy fun is a good way to describe it. Wait, and I way cringy fun. Ryan Solari says Thugonomics Cena does not age well. LOL. Maybe that's why he doesn't go back to do it very often. But A Milano said I love this segment. He was the one who said cringy fun is a good way to describe it. But Dougie Dog says that Punk promo was one of the cringiest things I've seen on television in ages. It was like Miz would have done 10 years ago. Wooden, corporate, zingers, delivered. And I mean, Eric, I think that goes to, I think that's a good summation I don't know about the Miz thing, but maybe. I don't think Punk's going to like that. But wooden corporate zingers, I don't know what material comes to mind that Punk could have said if he didn't care at all about getting in trouble with Cena. But Cena unleashed on him. Is there anything that comes to mind, Eric, that you think Punk left on not the cutting room floor, but the what's best for me, I better not say it floor? Because Cena has pull.
I don't know if there's any material he could have used, especially the way he delivered it today, but I kind of feel like he should have just come out really angry and just beat him up, because he would have had the crowd behind him in the arena, and it might have been less counterproductive than clearly the consensus reaction here of this was cringy and the Punk of 2011 is not coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I didn't hear a lot of people hopeful or optimistic that would happen. That we'd see the Punk from 2011 come back. But that said, this confirmed it isn't coming back. It was rough. Another comment here. Ryan Solorio adds, Punk looks like he's going through a midlife crisis. LOL. Scott TPA said, it's a fun type of cringy to me. Kind of refreshing to Punk not taking himself so seriously. Dougie said, it is 100% goofy to hear an aging Punk force in Drake references while using a pseudo-urban accent in dead serious tone. Sadler version 3 says, Punk being cringy works, since that is exactly what the babyface rapper Cena character was. It was an imitation from the dress up to the rap. I didn't expect legitimate rap bars. I'm sorry, Sadler. Cena was way better at Thugonomics than Punk was spoofing Thugonomics, and I don't think Punk was looking to be lame, like a lame derivative version. I think he actually was hoping it would come across like he could rap enough to get some zingers in where you weren't just sort of simultaneously feeling a little bad for Punk having a Kendall Roy moment. Eric.
Yeah, I just kept having the same phrase going through my head. I was like, he's become the point of the pointless. I was like, what are we doing? It's not really accomplishing anything other than what we said before. It was more of a distraction from last week. And I mean, to be fair, it's getting us to talk about this. We're at least able to move on, because there are a lot of things he could have tried tonight that we'd still be talking about last week.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an interesting point. Like, if it came across like Punk had the freedom and the determination to one up what Cena did to him, and it didn't land, that'd be different. And so, in a sense, the fact that it was sort of this cringy, playful, nostalgic, not great thing, it was sort of like, okay, Punk's not taking himself too seriously, although who knows? Maybe he's beating himself up backstage over this and is embarrassed. But he didn't come out and like really swing for the fences on Cena. Again, bald spot, Batista's better than you, some Hulk Hogan thing that I don't get, whatever, washing underwear. What did he say? I don't even know. I mean, like there's not a lasting line that stands out from that was good. But like I said, crowd like cheered him. They weren't just booing him like Roman Reigns the day after WrestleMania. This wasn't like a complete disaster. So I do think there's probably sighs of relief. Ryan Solorio says, I wonder if Cena helped him with some of the lines. A swing and the miss from Punk. Sai T says, we were 2 minutes in before I realized he was trying to rap. Kyle Fassel said, I think it hurts his character more. The history of his character says he would come out and just be real and say how it is to Cena. No haha biz. What do you think about that, Eric? We just defended it as if he tried hard and failed, that'd be worse than not trying hard and just, spoofing Cena. And as you said, we can kind of move on. But is this true to Punk to come out and do something out of his range, frankly?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And maybe that's the disconnect. We saw what happened with Cena last week, and really kind of coming for Punk and Phil Brooks, the man who, due to his own efforts, he's kind of intertwined the character and the man for his entire career. Then Punk comes out today and it didn't feel like he was Phil Brooks at all. It felt like he was a wrestling character doing a shtick. And that's not really been the case with Punk for his entire career.
Like Paul Heyman would have done a better job at this.
I don't want to think about that.
Jonathan Coachman might have done a better job at this. I love the daily headlines of Jonathan Coachman getting some scoop wrong. I don't know. I mean, it's a small sample size. I don't know. I don't listen to him, but when I brought him up, I'm like, why am I bringing him up? Oh, that's right, because I keep hearing him with scoops that turn out to be like proven wrong within, or at least there's one or two. But yeah, I don't know. Byron Saxton Michael Cole. They kept at least Joe Tessitore was. What am I doing? Whatever. I'm trying to think of somebody who would have been worse than Punk for sure. And I'm leaning on announcers, current and past, and I'm not even sure on any of them that they'd be like more cringy than Punk. And again, it's because that's just not who Punk is. Like, I mean, it's just he's so not a thugonomics guy that even spoofing it just. But that's why I was searching for or hoping for like him in the middle, just like tear off the chain and go, this is not good. Like, this is not working. Like just wing it and go, I thought I could do this, or someone thought this would be a good idea. It's not a good idea. Tear it off and then get real. Like, that would have been a moment. But again, he'd have to have the freedom and the material to work with. And I don't know if he did, but I guess, that if he had the material and the freedom, I think he should just torn off the thugonomics stuff, said, cut the music. This is stupid. Just like he made fun of that line he had last week and said it was stupid. I don't know. All right.
Yeah, it's like having an actor.
Go ahead, Eric.
It's like having a comedian try to do drama or vice versa. Or now that you brought up some comparisons, listening to Joe Tessitore last week try to spit out Jacob Fatu's catchphrases. It's horrible. You just never do it. Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Exactly. Yep. Because Cena was good last week. I mean, that was like lauded for his delivery. It was edgy. It was like, whoa. He's not just grimacing as a cartoon character, like he did also on the Colbert Show a couple nights later. I mean, it's just, Cena went back into that mode. But okay. A. Milano says the actual lines he was rapping was fire. I do think he should have just spoke it like poetry instead of trying to. Standard deviation: 2 50-year-old white guys in jorts rapping poorly is deeply uncool. It's a far cry from the Sammy J dynamic at the Bloodline's peak. Tilt says Phil Brooks is on a sellout tour. Dougie Doug says Punk felt like he was doing 2016 Miz shtick. I guess I commented on that earlier. Mark Pischetti says it's not that it was just cringe. Oh, no. Let's see if I can get it to show up here. There we go. It's not that it was just cringe. It didn't resonate, and it made him look less relevant than his entire run. He could not pull it off, and that made Cena look even better. Ryan Solorio notes, and this got out social media, he was getting booed during the Night of Champions pre-show until he apologized for his tweet. So kind of might have won some fans over there by conceding that point. Scott TPA says, I don't think he was supposed to be serious. I'm not understanding the issue here. Yeah, I mean, I probably, since you tweeted that, you probably have a better idea of where we're coming from. It wasn't that he wasn't supposed to be serious, but it was supposed to be funny and clever and effective. And that's where we think it just came up more cringy than effective. Brock Benningfield says, the good thing about the promo is that it's over now and we can get on with the match. We'll talk about the match in a moment here. BJF, by the way, answered my question earlier if the Netflix live feed was different. He goes, I rewatched the segment just before the post show and it was no different from the live feed earlier. But that was on Netflix again. I didn't see the USA feed. Okay, I'm not sure that helps us then. Sorry, BJF. Kyle Fassel said, it would have. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think MZ has an interesting point in here of, would this have been a better thing for R-Truth to come out and have done instead of CM Punk? Talking about staying in your lane. Truth probably could have delivered this well.
Yeah, let's table that for a good discussion on killings. I think that's interesting. Let me get to the last of my starred ones from earlier, and then I'll catch up on the comments and put them on the screen. Kyle Fassel said, would have redeemed itself if he totally came out on the Punk life character for more of it. Just too cringe for my taste. Would have redeemed itself if he totally came out of the Punk life character. Oh, for more. Yeah. Do you understand what that means, Eric?
Not
Kyle,
exactly.
I'm not sure. Come out more that way. All right, let's catch up here on the comment that got loaded while I was putting the ones up from that were from earlier in the show. Jason D from Australia. CM Punk is clearly not difficult to work with and is prepared to do something most think his character wouldn't. He isn't and never was the problem. That's the point. Yeah. Jason, I think you are ignoring a lot of very credible reporting when you say he isn't difficult to work with. I don't know why you're still staying with that. You can be sympathetic to Punk while also getting to what is clearly firmly established. Now, if you're saying that he is currently not difficult to work with, I can live with that. But if you say he isn't and never was the problem, I mean, come on. I like you, Jason, but that's just not a stance I think you can take unless you haven't been paying attention to, the last 12 years and especially the last 4 years. Let's see. Now I'm scrolling through trying to find the comment you referenced earlier. What's this interesting? Standard Deviation said they haven't done enough to remind us about Cena's Thugonomics era. That's interesting. Like, in a sense, did this... the Saudi Arabia crowd popped to the music. I mean, I think a lot of people knew that. So I'm not sure if that's the case. And I don't think you want to tip it off. Maybe they could have planned, Eric, in the yin-yang and background videos, like something a little bit more that showed like Cena, but not super relevant Punk. But they haven't really shown that along the way since his retirement tour. Do you remember Thugonomic throwbacks, Eric, along the way since he came back early this year?
Not since he came back this year. The last one that I remember was way back at WrestleMania 35 when he came out. What was it, to confront Elias? I think it was. That's the last one I remember. Maybe there's been since then, but that's the last one I remember. So yeah, it might not be fresh in people's minds that haven't been watching.
We do have. Yeah, it's interesting thought. I mean, I don't know how it landed at home with more, the total audience watching internationally. Kyle Fassel said PN News would do better. And Dougie Dog, I was looking for announcers. He says Alex Marvez would be worse. I'm not sure about that. Alex might surprise us. I've seen some people with like 2-3 drinks in them at weddings, like do karaoke and dance. Like, I didn't know they had that in them. Like, you wine suddenly or a couple mixed drinks and charisma comes out. So I'm not as much as I'm on Alex Marvez's acting on AEW as an announcer. Who knows? Maybe his gift is rap. I've been surprised before. I wouldn't put money on it. I'm just, trying to be open-minded and fair. CM Punk was a better rapper than Michael Cole. Say that again, Eric. I broke up.
Can you do an entire flagship with Todd Martin discussing who could be a possibly good rapper in wrestling? I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm up for that. Send it a question of the fixed mailbag, and then you can be the villain, or the hero. We'll see.
All right, we'll see.
That was Andy. That was Andy the Mario and Sonic Fan 2000 who said CM Punk was better than Michael Cole. Kyle Fassel wondered if they'd do this if they were in the States. MZ, interesting, says Punk shouldn't have been put in the situation, but I thought it was fine. I'm interested in the match and whether Cena retains or Punk wins and Seth cashes in. I assume the former. All right. And Ryan, well, I want to go to that, but Ryan Solorio says, I wonder if this show's going to be like last week where we talked mostly about Punk and Cena. Well, yeah, so far so good, but I don't think we're going to do another 30 minutes on it. And Derek said he was pandering to the Saudi crowd to get them on his side. I think they would have done it in the United States, Eric. I think this was the yin to the yang to draw that out. Yeah. Sorry about the Wi-Fi issues. I haven't had this in a long time. So, Xfinity, thank you. Kavanti Small says the best outcome to fix the Punk situation. He gets a non-finish tomorrow and he takes July off until SummerSlam to wipe the Cena stench off of him. The feud due to the Saudi element was no win. But Sadler Vision 3 says the surprised if Punk felt bad about it. If it was awkward silence, it would have been really bad. See, that's the thing. I mean, that's why I say I think there's a sigh of relief that the crowd wasn't just, that they were willing to cheer him. Mark Biscotti says, Eric, good commentary. It did get Punk any heat back. It confirmed he is what Cena said. And then Derek Hubbard, we haven't heard from him yet. He goes, after last week, I was worried we're going to get the scorched earth angry Punk that either silently or out loud self-destructs. He took last week in stride, it appears he's in a good place. That's interesting. Derek often brings a good comment to stir things. Do you think a scorched earth angry Punk versus taking it in stride Punk, which one do you think is better? I mean, scorched earth had a higher upside if he really went after Cena, but it might seem like he was bitter and angry. Whereas this does seem like maybe he took it in stride, although maybe he was asked to do something he didn't feel comfortable doing and is embarrassed about it. I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night. I personally don't envision Punk winning the championship tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, that could kind of be a cure-all, because then Punk's going to be the one that walks away on top of this feud no matter what. But presuming he's going to lose, maybe save the scorched earth for later and just keep it with the taking it in stride right now. But we're at a point where Punk is arguably, 1A, 1B of what they want to be their top babyface in the company right now. And he needs to find he really does need to find something to latch onto that's motivating him, because what he's doing right now isn't enough for the character.
Yeah. Yep. So tomorrow, now my chat wasn't filling in. Tomorrow night, talking about the match, let's explore some of the different possibilities in terms of outcomes and match finishes. Seth cashing in, pros and cons, Eric, on that, and if so, under what circumstances?
Well, the pro is that it gives them a way forward with this top faction that they're establishing on Raw. I don't see how it does a whole lot for Seth Rollins personally. Someone who's I'm also very against the idea of Seth Rollins holding the briefcase, even though we're past that, just because how do you top cashing in at WrestleMania? I think once you've done that, there's nowhere to go but down. So I don't personally like the idea of him cashing in. I really don't like the idea of him cashing in on a show that's going to air earlier in a day for a lot of people, and a lot of people are just going to be spoiled by it because they haven't watched it yet. I think you should save something like that. But if they do something where he cashes in like he did at WrestleMania during the match and makes it into a triple threat match, they could get out of this and try to keep some people, have Cena and Punk save some face here without one of them having to take a clean loss or however they want to pull it. But for me, I wouldn't involve Rollins in this at all.
Yeah, I don't. My hunch is, my guess is he won't. I mean, if Cena just hits Punk with a low blow in a belt and pins him, is that fine? I mean, that's what he's been doing, and then maybe Punk does go for a little bit and starts a new feud, and we just pretend none of this happened. It won't be great, but I don't know how it can be.
Yeah, but I mean, because it seems like we are getting, unless things go haywire, it feels like they're building up to Cody versus Cena at SummerSlam. I think we're in agreement on that.
Yep.
So that would almost imply that Punk either needs to take a break or he's going to be wrestling Rollins at SummerSlam. Are they going to do something where whatever happens tomorrow leads into a Punk Rollins Redux feud, at least up until SummerSlam? Maybe that's the
What odds do we have on Punk winning the title?
How
is it lower than 2 weeks ago?
I think it's about the same for me. I think it's still around like 20%. That for me. I haven't seen anything that makes sense for Punk to be the one to end this title reign that hasn't really seemed to achieve the crescendo that it could if it's done well. But maybe I'm just waiting for it to do something that it's not going to do. I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, and I'm waiting for them to start playing like the way they should, and that's not happening. So I'm starting to give up hope. I'm kind of feeling the same thing about a John Cena title reign right now. So, but it feels like there's still room for them to do something. And maybe this can help build on it with the promo he gave last week, moving on to whomever he wrestles moving forward.
I will be happy when Punk moves on from this. And, my reporting was not Cena was out to get Punk. My reporting was Cena was focused on Cena and his pals, and felt like his mode is go all out, because that's the only, at times you step up and you show you can do it. And he did it with a disregard for Punk, not malice. And because I think, it's in my cover story this week. Cena by all accounts likes Punk. They get along. This was nothing in anything I've said last week or this week was that, Cena was viciously trying to destroy Punk. There's people who say Cena knows, is aware enough to know the damage he's doing. So I think but again, it comes from a place of, and it goes, and I think there's been a pattern of Cena for several years now, where he's just kind of doing what he wants to do, that he thinks in a way that's good for his brand, in a way that he wants to. He feels if he's giving WWE
like his time, his presence. Oh, I lost you, Wade. I don't know if. Hey, Wade, I think you might be muted. Or it's me. Wade, you're muted. Can you hear me? Should I do stand-up? I could tell jokes. I should just try to pretend I know what he's saying. I think he's saying that Cena is like his character right now. He's just happy that everyone's being graced by his presence. And let's see, what else? Now, for some reason, he started talking about Bronson Reed, and I'm not really sure why. Can anyone hear me, or am I muted too? Okay, good. I'm not crazy then. Okay, good. So what do you guys want to talk about next? Do we want to talk about Jax versus Stratton? Do we want to talk about more Punk and Cena? Whatever happened with the Wyatts? I can just give a soliloquy on the Jax versus Stratton match. Was it just me, or was it very clunky and possibly, I don't think I've ever seen a last man or woman or animal or child constantly the entire match. Sorry, I just started doing soliloquies, Wade. I was going to try to like guess what you were saying.
Yep. I appreciate. Well, I refreshed and toggled my Wi-Fi and my equipment. Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Or not?
At least I can.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, this will be fun in post-production to mess with and try to splice together. It is, as Dougie Doug said, the Saudis got the feed. So I guess the last stuff I said did not come through. Let's bring Darrell into the conversation. I'll try to catch up on some of the chat. Darrell, welcome. What is on your mind about tonight's SmackDown?
Yes. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got a question. Isn't the Rumble in Saudi Arabia this year?
Yeah,
it is.
Next year. Yeah, next year, but it's the next Rumble that's coming up. So the first thing, so we can cap out the Punk thing. Do you think they did this to rip the Band-Aid off just in case if they had plans for him in the Rumble? Because that's something nobody has brought up to say, because I know they go back in another time in November in Saudi Arabia, so they just did it now. He might miss the next one.
Interesting. Eric, what do you think?
that they're having Punk out there now because he's not going to be there for the Rumble?
Or he will be for the
That he
Rumble.
will be for
And they
the
might
they're
have
trying
on
They're
plans.
trying to redeem him. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's possible. Maybe I'm being cynical, but I have a hard time believing they already have a plan for the Rumble. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe they have planned it out that much. But I don't have a lot of faith in that. To me, this whole thing feels like they had a checklist of opponents for John Cena throughout this calendar year, and they had to shoehorn feuds into that because it didn't feel like the right time for a Punk feud to me. And it felt like they just had to have it happen now. But you could be right too.
Yeah, to me, like, I don't think it's when we won't know till we see how things play out the rest of this summer and fall. But I don't think with SummerSlam and King of the Ring and Cody probably winning and then facing Cena at SummerSlam and then time for Cena to turn babyface and feud with Logan Paul, I don't think there was time for a Punk match anywhere else. I don't think Punk was put here out of vindictiveness to embarrass Punk. I think it just worked out that way. Do I think some people were happy? Like, oh, this will be interesting. Sure. You know, I think maybe some people were snickering a little bit at the fact that this is a defensible timeline for Punk. That's kind of my thinking. But it feels wedged in because it doesn't feel like a featured feud. I'm not sure it should because I think they are more in the Cody business.
Oh, lost you again, Wade.
Muted again, Wade. Still can't hear you. You're like he's about to refresh.
So Darrell, do you think Punk, if you had to pick somebody right now, would you think Punk's winning the Rumble?
Yeah. Him or Sammy. Him or
Sammy.
Yeah, I would say that. That's why I think they took him off, had him do Saudi Arabia now, because I feel like that'll be a big talking point if he was going in the Rumble. And let's say if you might have him win it or in the last two, that's a big talking point that you don't want to have. You want to get over it, let the people get it out of their system, so the next time he go, it can just be focused on whatever story that he in.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Get it out of the way now so you can focus on the task at hand when it really matters in January. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
We can hear you now, Wade.
Yeah, so I think that might. Yeah, thanks, Darrell. I reset my box and that seemed to work over here in the equipment. I think this could also be more of a happy coincidence. It could, I think. I don't know what people are hearing me say and not say at this point. So if I repeat myself, I apologize. But I think that scheduling wise, it just kind of worked out. They've got plans for SummerSlam for Cody, and then they want time for Cena to go babyface and feud with Logan. This was the one PLE that worked in the calendar, and so that's what we're getting. But if it warms Punk up to win the Rumble and get cheered in Saudi Arabia, then him apologizing for the tweet and going here, it could have. I think it's more of a happy accident. Could they have put Punk? They could have done Gunther Goldberg tomorrow. It wouldn't be in Atlanta, and then have Punk and Cena on Center's main event if they wanted to not force Punk to go to Saudi Arabia. But Darrell, maybe they are trying to prime him and get the crowd warmed up to him and just commit to make sure that Punk's okay going and it's not a disaster and he doesn't back out.
Yeah, because I think he won. If you've seen the thing that they did on YouTube earlier before SmackDown. He got booed and cheered, but he won over that crowd by the end of it. So that's why I was thinking per se. And also I would say this: if you want to hear a good John Cena interview, listen to his interview that he gave today on the Breakfast Club, probably filmed a day ago, and that's the most open, non-robotic John Cena I've ever heard in my life. And when I'm saying giving an interview to people, he was very open, and he stated that he will be leaving halfway before December is even over with. He even told him he'll be gone by then. So that's something too.
What did you think? I didn't hear the interview. So Darrell, what did you? Because I saw you mentioned it in the chat earlier on this interview. Did you get any new insight or sense into how Cena felt about Punk and the promo, the pipe bomb?
okay, how he was stating, because they asked him about the things that he was doing right now in his career, and he was stating that
Yeah.
right now he just want to basically just end everything, because he's he's saying that he's going to end wrestling, not wrestling anymore. He'll probably continue to be with the company, but he's going to stop it. But he's trying to just do things his own way, have matches against people that he want to wrestle against, and just uplift everybody. He's not really caring about all the other stuff. And he even stated that he know he can't really go no more. He said
Yeah.
he had to lose a little weight. He can't take those bumps, like it hurts now when he take the bumps. He lost strength, so he had to change, and he's trying to find different ways into incorporating his now into the wrestling that he's trying to do. He was stating all that. That why I said it was very open when he was saying.
And yeah, it would have been interesting. Oh, go ahead, Eric. You go.
No, I was just saying, when is the Boston show? That's in sometime in the November, December timeframe that I think everyone's thinking is going to be his last.
Before Christmas, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I think that's right.
That would line up.
Yeah, and I think way back. Yeah, I think way back, and I should remember my own reporting, but I think way back, when I talked to someone who saw the Cena schedule, and they just kind of laid out, when he'd be around, when there'd be a gap, and then when he'd be around again, and it was always, something in December. I don't know if I had been clear if he'd be. I think he wasn't going to be around for like the very end of December, so I think that does line up. As I kind of think back to our reporting last year about the Cena tour. And obviously Boston would make some sense for him to fight Logan Paul there, maybe his final match. And Cena showed Logan Paul what Logan Paul is in for. If he can do that to Punk, think what he can do to Logan. Although Logan maybe is more able to defend himself than Punk, because I guess it depends if Cena goes after Logan for stuff he did early in his career that hopefully Logan is ashamed of. But I don't know. I wonder if the rules would be different when Cena goes after Logan, assuming that plays out, which certainly everything is pointed that way.
He also stated that he didn't want to be a babyface right now, because he said he spent over 2 decades being a babyface, and how he know people get tired of that. And now what he's trying to do is work off the cuff, because he's trying to introduce a character to people, and they're not, and he have to work off the cuff off of how they receive it, because of what he presented them before.
Yeah, I look forward to listening to that interview. Anytime somebody of Cena's stature and accomplishments in this industry talks at length, and if you endorse it, Darrell, I'm excited to hear that. I thought it was like terrible on the Colbert Show in ways that matter. It was entertaining for a talk show, but it was just, I enter that into evidence is Cena doesn't really have a core constitution. He's very in the moment, what works right now. And in the moment, what worked with the pipe bomb promo was eviscerating Punk. What worked on Colbert had nothing to do with the character we saw eviscerate Punk. It was blending into that context. And I think Cena sees that as adjusting brilliantly and professionally to the context that I'm in. But anybody who watched that, who's been trying to buy into his heel character, would be like, oh, Cena's just playing a sports entertainment heel. And I wrote about this in the cover story of the newsletter this week. He's just playing a sports entertainment heel, but I'm not taking it seriously. And then the Let's Go Cena Sucks stuff is just, it's pro wrestling fans doing what pro wrestling fans do. And, I would argue, and I think others are also, that's not peak experience for pro wrestling, with fans being there to do communal chants. The peak experience is what, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn and Montreal, Cody Rhodes in the Journey. It's having that person, that home team, so to speak, you get behind, and heels that are positioned to be booed, and they have constitutions and they're consistent. And Cena's not doing any of that. He's just but I want to hear what he says and his explanation for it. My guess would be, but I'm committed with an open mind to be swayed. But based on following and covering his whole career, I don't think I'm going to be all that impressed with the way he frames what he's doing. And I think it's more likely to validate, just based on the preponderance of past evidence, how I feel about his, top guy wrestling wisdom and IQ. But I'll listen, and I'll report back.
Yeah,
and then I want to underline this. Oh, go ahead, draw. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last thing that he really spoke on when he tried to incorporate in there is because he brought up how he had an issue with a stalker that was following him and pulled up in his neighborhood behind him. He just stopped the car and got out and walked up to the stalker's car, which he knew and sometimes that could probably be an issue or something like that. But he felt like, hey, if I just give you an autograph, would you just leave? Because you finna make me take it to another level. And I don't want to have to go. You don't want me to call the police and this stuff right here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about his new mindset. He said his self 10 years ago, I would have did something totally different. I'd have been frustrated. I would have lashed out. But me now and who I am now and how I'm thinking about stuff is like that. He was trying to bring it back into saying like how he just happened to be able to finish up and perform and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good interview. Everybody should listen. It's about almost an hour. So
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, it sounds
appreciate the recommendation. One thing I said earlier that didn't get picked up is I want to be clear. I wrote this in cover story. I said it last week. I said it on shows this week. I don't believe Cena is being intentionally vindictive. That his primary focus is vindictiveness towards Punk. I think Cena is aware of what he's doing, but he's doing it in the context of thinking, my job is to deliver the best eviscerating promo I can. And he doesn't think beyond the ephemeral, often counterproductive communal crowd, response that he gets from a crowd. He's just, and so damage was done, but I don't think it was done like I want to destroy Punk. I don't want that to have anyone think that that's what I think. But I do think he gets some joy from his text message friends saying, "Great job, Punk had that coming." I don't think Cena's motivation was to destroy Punk, but I don't think he is steering away from something like that. And so, and I don't know that we got any answers or further evidence. I don't think. I think Cena issues with some stuff from, a dozen years ago. So I don't think he's like worried about protecting Punk. I just think Cena's out for himself, and he goes, Punk can protect himself. I'm going to give the best promo I can. And so I think that's kind of where we are now. And Standard Deviation says, is there something incompatible between what's best for a wrestling show overall and what's best for a top star's longevity as the number one top star? That's why you need promoters and bookers and leaders to make sure that people don't go into business for themselves in a way that's ultimately counterproductive for the brand. And I think we're seeing some of that. Yeah. Eric, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think there is, yeah, I don't know. I think that kind of sums it up, honestly. I think the two can exist.
Yep.
I think it's not, yeah. You just have to frame your wrestling show
leadership.
Right. Frame your wrestling show around what's best for your top star, and then you'll be okay. I feel like that's what generally works.
I would say, well, yes, but I would add to it, make sure that you also check a box. Am I doing something that's best for my top star that isn't needlessly undercutting other things we're doing? And so the idea is if a top star goes into business for themselves to make themselves the most over they can be, if that top star is a draw, they'll justify it. But we've seen it with Hogan. We've seen it with a lot of top wrestlers who have pull over the years. That's not good. That's not good for me. I'm not going to do it. A good example for that, but it's been done in history a lot. So what you need is a promoter who goes, well, wait a second, I'm the boss, and we got to make sure that we don't do things that are good for you that are counterproductive for everything else we're doing. It's important to have a top star and protect them, but you don't want that top star to go do things that are, again, needlessly self-destructive. Sometimes they're just tough choices to make in that regard. Tilt says Cena is playing a heel and Punk is a sellout playing CM Punk. He says it's my opinion only, but I think that's where the Punk critics are coming in right now is, yeah, Cena's just playing a sports entertainment heel. Punk isn't Punk anymore. He's pretending to be Punk, but he's actually a sellout. I don't know how many fans today are hung up on Punk being a sellout, like in the large WWE audience. I mean, there's some, But I think what people want to see is Punk be entertaining and have a character that they are drawn to as a heel or a face. And maybe we'll get a heel Punk next year if he wins the Rumble. Who knows, where things go or after that. But I was told and have reported there wasn't any immediate plans to turn him heel, and that was not what the promo last week was aiming to do. So to me, I think Punk can overcome the sellout reputation by just being damn entertaining. Jarrell, what do you think about that?
I think so too. I think we all sell out to our jobs. Let's just be honest. We all sell out to our jobs, unless you're an entrepreneur like yourself, Wade, or anybody else. So if you want to make money, you're going to sell out to yourself. It's all about how you go from it and take in the criticism and stuff like that. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
So in saying that, though, with Punk the character, he doesn't need Punk the human. Phil Brooks doesn't need the money, even the money he's getting from this. He doesn't need it. So for character wise, could he have come out on TV and said, I'm not going there? Like, I know he can't sit there and say why, but he could have come up with a reason why he's not going to fight Cena on Cena's terms or something and refuse to go. And then he could have stayed home and not went. And it might have served his character better.
But I asked you
we
this.
don't know that Punk didn't sit down with. Let me say this real quick so I don't forget. You remember the point? We don't know that Punk didn't sit down with some people in who have been going to Saudi Arabia or who are in favor of going there, and they didn't go. You know what? I understand. I thought the same thing at one point about it, but here's the case for going there. And maybe Punk was persuaded, and maybe Punk doesn't feel like a sellout. Maybe he feels like who learned information, circumstances changed over a decade, or in recent years, and he got persuaded to change his mind. But he's kind of embarrassed to admit it, so his admission is just that kind of going there. I think we have to leave ourselves open to the possibility that Punk actually thinks our job is to go to Saudi Arabia and entertain people, not make political statements. This country, the United States, who are we to say, with what's going on here? And so maybe he doesn't feel like a sellout. Maybe he feels like he looks at it differently. There's enough. They've got enough. It's just kind of part of business, and it's not eating him up inside a crit. He just can't say it because you can't address it. You on WWE TV or even in a podcast at this time, I don't think anyone talking about Saudi Arabia being controversial. And that's what made what Cena did last week unfair, because Cena used that against Punk, but Punk cannot defend himself because he isn't going to be allowed to do it, or he knows it's not prudent to do it. So he's just got to take the heat. And my hunch is people are telling him just take the heat, we'll get through it. And I don't think it's a given that it's eating him up inside that he's going to this country that at one time he was highly critical going to. So those are just kind of my thoughts as I've thought through this, especially over the past week and since this match was first announced. Jarrell, I said I'd throw it back to you here.
And yes, and I will ask you to this. When do you have to not looking out for yourself to also benefit what benefits you, and look at the overall picture and like what benefits everyone? Like, if me looking out for myself hurts something that we might can be able to plan for everybody or something like that, do you take more? Will you give somebody credit for looking out for the whole entire picture, especially somebody like Punk, who I agree with what you said earlier, Wade. He has been difficult to work with and things like that. He's coming off a difficult situation, what he did with Brawl Out and all of that right there. And maybe they, like you said, they might have to talk to him and be like, man, well, if we hold off on you and Cena, it might mess up something else that we have planned and stuff like this. And like I was saying earlier, this is a way to rip the Band-Aid off with Saudi Arabia, because we want you to be in the Rumble. Then we got to deal with this talk and all this stuff, and it takes away from the Rumble on whoever win it, because we all going to be talking about Punk was in the Rumble and at Saudi, and he sold his soul and going off of what he said and stuff like that. So what outweighs the other? Should you benefit yourself to take that little talk that people going to not talk about in 6 months? Or should you look at benefiting everybody by, I do this now for a bigger gain later?
Eric.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for being a team player, especially for someone like CM Punk, who has a reputation of not being one. And if he's trying to be on his best behavior and wants to prove a point, this is a way to do it. And, I don't want to launch into a political talk, but Sami Zayn's going too. And, he historically didn't want to go also. So, like we said, people have the right to change their mind. I would only have an issue if.
And in his case, Saudi Arabia changed their stance on his. Saudi Arabia actually changed in that. So it was actually, I don't have it. I can't articulate in detail what it was, but that was a case, Eric, where it wasn't Sami going, the situation's the same, but I look at it differently. It was Saudi Arabia changed their approach to why he held out at first.
Yeah, no,
I don't think that's the case with Punk. Yeah,
I totally agree. I don't think this was anyone, Sami or Punk or anyone, sacrificing their beliefs to go do this. I think clearly Sami was not going to do that. So yeah, like you said, something changed in the country and the way they're conducting their business that he felt more comfortable going. For all we know, Sami Zayn talked to Punk and said, "Here's why I'm going," and Punk, maybe it resonated with him, and maybe he changed his mind too and said, "Maybe I do want to go." But Punk had put those statements out there that people look at now, and that's why he catches a lot of criticism for it, whether it's justified or
not. Yes, and there was issues with Sami in Syria that was very specific to Sami in that. So I guess I would just say I don't think Punk would be persuaded by that to change his mind. I think with Sami, he had an issue. Those relations with Syria changed, and therefore he went with Punk. As Mark Biscotti said, the Saudi regime has done horrible things. Those things aren't any less true. But Milano says adults are allowed to change their opinions over time. It doesn't make them a sellout. Jason D said, I agree, Wade. That's what I believe Punk is thinking. He is allowed to change his mind. Fanblast said, if he changed his mind, that's one thing. But the lie that he wasn't talking about Saudi Arabia, no respect for that. And there's another one here. Oh, and then Brock Benningfield just said, if Punk had a choice, he definitely should not have gone. So yeah, Darrell, any final words from you before we move on? We're gonna move on to some non-Cena-Punk stuff here.
Yeah, I want to start off by taking y'all out of that as well.
Okay, good. You go for it. Yeah.
They're gonna have I feel like they're gonna have maybe a Jacob Fatu problem if they don't continue to have a good story for him, and especially if they take the title off him, don't take the title off of him. People go because he's getting over and over and over. And I know he's starting to fall back on the yada I mean and the stuff like that, but he's still getting so over. And you're gonna start seeing people want to see him push. After tonight and what you seen tonight, and again, I don't know if y'all looked at the thing that they did on YouTube earlier and how he was looking there. How do you see this going? Where should they go? Should he lose the title so they can continue to have a story with him? Because I feel like if you don't have a certain plan with him, people are going to be looking for him to maybe beat Cena or something like that, or take the title because how over he is.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see room at the top for him right now. Maybe in a year, but for me, there's just too many people in front of him. I would keep the title on him for a while. I would have him beat Solo and just be careful to get him out of leaning on these catchphrases. He doesn't need to say them on every show. That's the only thing that is detracting from him for me right now. I actually like the idea of having him in some sort of alliance with Jimmy. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense depending on where they go with it. But it is starting, like you said, Darrell, there's something right now that they're risking not doing the right things with him right now because there's no focus. So we'll see how I want to see how the match plays out tomorrow night. I assume Fatu will win, but I don't know what you think, Wade.
I think part of Fatu's character is the ratio of catchphrases to other things he says. I'm okay with the catchphrases if it doesn't feel like just leaning on it as a crutch and he's just kind of phoning it in. I was like Ted DiBiase in Mid-South was a great heel promo at the beginning of the $1 Million Man character. Great heel promo. A few years in, all the nostalgia, it's cartoon laugh, catchphrases. There's nothing that feels like believable. Just one vintage example I give, because he was so before he just didn't. You don't want it early in your career just look like you're just phoning in it. You're like, I got my catchphrases, and that's going to be I'm not putting more. You don't want to come across like you're showing up to TV and you haven't put more thought into it. Then you've got some catchphrases that are over, and you're going to lean on those constantly. So I'm okay with catchphrases. I believe in them, but I don't know. There's a lot of wrestlers who you just get the sense, we want the smoke. I mean, no, I want Montez Ford to break from that and give me more, and then give me more, and then want the smoke, but give me more. So yeah, just let's just let more. If you're going to have them talk, let them talk more. Don't just do catches. You can make an argument he should be talking less and have more mystique, but that's not where he is right now. That's not what they're doing. And I think Fatu retains. I don't think there's anything on tonight's show that swayed me from leaning that way. Although they're trying to heat up Solo a little bit, and so I'm not. I don't have certitude as far as that goes. Darrell, anything you want to reply to there?
Would you say, like, if everybody been talking about it, if they bringing in Hikuleo and another heater, would like to see Jacob having to battle back and see, like, they rebuild the whole Solo bloodline? You get Hikuleo, then you get both Tama Tonga Loa, and now him and Jimmy got to battle back through those guys to get back to what he had and stuff like that. Just building into that, because that's something that our natural rivalry that could build into a maybe a Survivor Series War Games match and stuff like that, and just so we can see him expand. And it's not the catchphrases, and he's putting more depth into his conversation, like he did in the thing on YouTube. He put some depth into it a little bit, and you could tell that he was really meaning what he wanted to say and stuff like that. Would that be something that would be interesting? Because I would say I would see him. I don't want to see him lose to Solo, but I can understand if he does, if you have a long-term story behind it.
Well, Hikuleo is going to be predicted to be coming in until he does. Every event. It's just I don't know. It feels like someone's going to eventually be right. Richman, this is an old reference from 30 years ago. Rich Mancuso on WFAN radio had an overnight wrestling talk show in the pre-internet, pre-podcast days. He reported Sting signing with WWF. Didn't happen over. It was just a joke. Eventually he thought he'd have a scoop because he's like, I got for. So we'll see. As far as catchphrases, Mike Myers said, save catchphrases for the right moments in clever situations is my catchphrase. Mike, you just lurk and then you just dive in with one. You are the economy of comments. Jason Solo says Solo's done a great job as a heel, entertaining and dislikable, plus still gets heat. He has been underrated. I think Solo's made a nice comeback, and that's why I wouldn't rule out him getting the U.S. title, gloating about it, having help. Could be Hikuleo, maybe not. So yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, and maybe it's because I have bigger things in mind for Fatu, although a nice hot U.S. title run against a variety of opponents wouldn't be bad either. That's kind of the U.S. title brand in certain ways too. Darrell, anything else you want to bring up?
Last thing, then you can let me go. R-Truth coming back, or Ron Killings.
Oh yeah,
I feel like using that brought him back. I want to see now going against a few outside of John Cena and what this character morphed to, and hopefully this can move something on to Aleister Black, because obviously it looked like he going here, and it looked like he might go through R-Truth to get to Damian Priest. So I want to see how they do this without killing whatever momentum that R-Truth have as well. How would y'all map that out? And do you think this is a good start?
Do you think Ron Killings has momentum right now, Darrell?
Yes, the crowd reacts to him. People see him in a certain way. Maybe not with like a lot of maybe some of us hardcores and stuff like that, but I still think majority of WWE crowds are casual to families, and they have affinity for him or something for him and how he came back. So I just want to see what they can do with that and not making it so derivative and build on to this character, because it's kind of like a schizophrenic character. It was showing that first, and now I don't. It's kind of veering off. So I want to see.
I'm with Sadler version 3. It'll be interesting to see who goes over in this feud. I wonder if they're higher on Black or Truth. Killings feels like he lost the buzz. I don't think he has momentum right now. I think he comes across as somebody who people really liked in R-Truth, and now he wants to be taken more seriously and have an edge. I like that he said, I want Cena again. And I think that's good, because what happened, in his match with Cena, he shouldn't be happy with that. He should want more. So I'm not critical of the booking aspect of it, but I don't think if you go, I'm going to change my name from R-Truth to Ron Killings and I have a serious edge and I want people to take me seriously, and then your catchphrase is that's the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and you just change your name from R-Truth, I think some people's heads just sort of spin like, wait, you're not the truth anymore, but your catchphrase is based around repeating the word truth 3 times now. I don't think that's good. And I don't sense WWE is particularly committed, even though I'm not critical of what they did tonight with him. I don't think they're committed to getting Ron Killings over. I don't think that was their idea. I think Killings wanted to do something different. I think the idea was it would give him more credibility against Cena, but that didn't turn out to be their goal. He was just sort of a placeholder for something else. Eric, go ahead and comment on that.
Sure. I feel like he peaked when he got fired, which is weird, but I had even put in my report, I think the week prior, that they should just let Truth beat Cena for the championship. No one would see it coming. Have it done on, network television at Saturday Night's Main Event. Have him win the championship and lose it back to Cena. No one thought Cena was going to get to 18, and that would have been something interesting. But now that they've decided to bring him back, I think they looked around and said, what can we do with him? Because he's not the end game for Cena. So I feel like what we're going to get now is they said, they had that back story between him and Damian Priest from the Judgment Day. And they're like, we can lean into this. We don't really have a lot for Priest right now either. So let's see what we can do to keep him busy. And then I imagine Truth, I don't want to say end game, but I feel like who knows how long he's rehired for, but I feel like he's going to be someone that talks Cena back to the light at some point, maybe around the fall or December timeframe. And I think that's where we're going to get him back involved with Cena again.
Does he come back as R-Truth when he talks sense into Cena? Is that the big return of R-Truth?
Is he both now? I mean, it feels like even tonight, he's still both. He's R-Truth and Ron Killings. Maybe he's Little Jimmy next week. Sadler version 3 said, when Killings chopped his hair off and sounded unhinged in that return promo, I expected him to be a nut job character. Instead, he's just like 20% more serious, and that's it. I think if he was only 20% more serious, that would be a win. I actually think he's 70% more serious, but he's still 30% not serious, which undercuts the whole point of doing it, because it's more like a watered down version of what we loved about R-Truth instead of a truly refreshed, recommitted alt version of him. And then it would make the return of Ron Killings better if it ever happened. The return of R-Truth better if they took him away entirely for months and then he came. He's just kind of hanging out, so you don't miss him. You don't feel like you're missing him. You're just getting this watered down version of him. If I'm gonna stop Pepsi, but I have a watered down Pepsi every day, Pepsi's not gonna taste good when I have it again. It's like if it sounds good to me in 2 months, it'll feel good. That's my soda now. I was disappointed.
Yeah. So anyway.
I don't know if anybody else was. Was anyone disappointed that he knew Adam Pearce's name? I think he got Adam Pearce's name right, and I'm like, he knows people's names now. That's sad. I actually rewound. I'm like, did he say his name right? Like, so that's where it's like, he's 20 or 70% more serious. I don't know. All right, Darrell,
Good comments. Appreciate it.
All right. Y'all have a good rest of the show.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Cody had as much trouble as we have on this show with their issues. They put together, I don't know the story on what we saw. It looked like they confiscated fan cameras and spliced it together into a slightly not quite fully in sync, 7 minutes or whatever that was, after a 30-minute delay, trying to figure out what's wrong. I mean, I don't know how they did it. I kind of give them credit if they did not have actual footage of that promo, but they, the footage was at times from the people's heads and arms blocking the view. So I don't know really what they did there, but it was watchable. They patched it together. Eric, what did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting. The audio was fine, so you could tell what they were saying. Everything was coherent. There didn't seem to be any pieces missing that left something out. Maybe they benefited from the fact that it was two very basic promos anyway. What was that?
So we had it worse than them. We had it worse than them then.
Oh,
Our audio hasn't been good. It would be nice if we had audio and no video, but no. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I talked over you.
There was, when I was looking up and watching it, there was enough skipping around that I thought Kevin Dunn was back for a second, but it didn't take away from it too much. If you watched too much and you weren't like me looking down, maybe you got a little dizzy, but I felt like they got their points across so that it wasn't so bad. And I was just impressed that they managed to figure it out.
Yeah. Kyle Fassel said
Oh, interesting.
4K TV camera or anything, what they were showing. So it was clearly patched together in post-production. In the 5 hours since the show actually took place, roughly, how hours it was, roughly 5 or something. But in terms of what was said, I mean, Randy just said, I'm not holding back. This is, you think you have a reason to want to win this? I do too. Including, talking about how things didn't go well for him in St. Louis. And so he wants to, he's not, Cody, your journey doesn't concern me. My career concerns me. My goals concern me. What do you think? I mean, I think there's a novelty in a tournament ending with 4 baby faces pairing off for semifinals and now 2 baby faces in the finals. I think it doesn't spend a grudge match or a future feud. And there's a novelty. I like it for having baby faces say, I'm in for myself, but not come across in a way that did forward.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought Randy had plenty of material. Like you pointed out, him mentioning St. Louis, but he also pointed out King of the Ring finals from last year and that he didn't win last year. And so he has 2 very specific reasons why he wants to win this particular match. And if we could have that in more matches, we would be very happy, I think. There was when we first found out this was going to be the match, I did think for a second, are we wasting the Randy Cody feud on this? But then I realized that if they're going to have a bigger Randy Cody feud, one of them needs to be a heel. So having them as baby faces against each other is not going to hurt anything for down the road. That's what my sense was for this.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's smart. Okay, let's hit a few other rapid fire items because of technical issues and the fact that Night of Champions is right around the corner. We'll probably wrap up here in just a couple minutes, but let's bullet point a few things here. Jimmy Uso and JC Mateo. Sometimes I say it like JC, like JAC.
Right.
EY. So I'm going to add a little brief, just in baseball here. If I start saying it weird, it's because I've been made to feel self-conscious about saying it too quickly. So Jimmy Uso versus JC Mateo. Went 6 minutes, not much to it. Mateo is strong of this group. I don't know. He's there to be talked up by the announcers, but ultimately lose. And it's probably fine. Coming in, some people would say, oh, Jeff Cobb's a bigger deal than Solo Sikoa. I think now it's fine for him to be kind of the gatekeeper for Solo, because I think Solo's had a little bit of a comeback. Any thoughts on that match? I thought it was okay, not much to it.
Okay, kind of plotting, didn't last very long.
It's the tone, the inflection. Okay.
Right. Exactly. It sucked the life out of the arena that was very hot for Cody and Randy, and then was almost instantly quiet for this match. The thing that I didn't like about it, though, was the finish. It was a very minor distraction from Solo, which is fine, but turning it into Mateo hadn't hit anything, and he hits his finish that barely anyone really knows yet and got no reaction and pinned him immediately. And it just made Jimmy look really weak to me. Oh, did I lose you? Are you there, Wade? Oh, you're muted again. What did everybody else think of Jimmy versus Mateo? Oh, you're back. Never mind. Don't tell me they sent the Crown Prince here to get us. Oh, Ryan, I just asked what you guys thought of the Jimmy JC Mateo match and where everything's going with that, since that's what we were talking about.
All right.
Yeah. We can talk about something else if that's too boring. What did you think of the Julia Zelina Vega match and result? Oh no, now it's just me. All right, well, I wish I knew how to let someone call in, but I don't know how to do that. Did the right woman win between Zelina Vega and Julia? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? What do you guys think? Yeah. Is anyone happy that Zelina Vega didn't get her neck broken on that, whatever they were trying to do from the top? CJ, Julia won. Clean. I'm kind of thinking this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this might be leading to a Zelina Vega heel turn sooner than later. I know she's been kind of framed as a scrappy underdog, potentially female Rey Mysterio over the last few months, but how long can they do that before that gets boring? I see BJ, you mentioned Zelina with Andrade. Should they do that, but also keep Rey Fenix with Andrade, or should that be a one-night thing?
Are you having a chat with the chat, Eric?
Yes. I was just asking people what they thought of the Zelina Vega. Uh-oh. Well, back to our chat. Derek, they're Hasbro's. Or the retro whatever they came out with from Mattel mixed in. They weren't supposed to make an appearance tonight, but I had to shift computers. Yes, CJ, I know you probably want to talk Bailey. I listen to these podcasts too, so I know. I think we'll probably save that for Raw.
What a fun debut, Eric. All these technical issues. I just quit I never quit a browser mid-show. And then, but I did that. But then it crashed immediately on me. So I don't know but we'll see if I hold out here for the last few minutes.
We were just talking about Zelina Vega versus Julia.
Yeah. So what did I miss? What do you think?
I mean, I thought it was another kind of plotting match, and it was kind of typical for what Zelina's been doing lately. I'm very thankful that she didn't break her neck on whatever they were trying to do from the top rope. That got very botched.
That was a slip up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been talking about that like there's been more botches lately. It's been rough.
It's scary. It seemed like even Tiffany Stratton later in her match, she seemed to have a hard time getting her footing on the top rope. So I don't know what's going on, but it felt like the right woman won. It was time for Julia to, it's nice to see her get her first main roster championship, but it made me wonder are we heading towards a Zelina Vega heel turn? Because there's only so much you can do with this scrappy underdog title reign that she had. I thought for a minute they were trying to turn her into a kind of a female Rey Mysterio, but what's the end game for that? And it just seemed like I don't know. Do you think there's something there with maybe there's a heel turn coming here?
Like my initial thought is no, she just turned and she's so undersized. I think you have to stick with her as a babyface. I mean, I think it's too quick of a turn, and I think WWE should save turns for people who mean more than Zelina and the bottom 2/3 of the roster. I just don't think you want to spend a lot of turns on people rapid fire. I think you want turns to feel authentic and rare. And also she's just so undersized. But I mean, not every mid-card wrestler, even US champion level, is going to be super over, but I think she's been good enough in what she's done on the mic and in the ring that I think they'll see it through for a while longer. But as Cavanti Smalls says in the chat, I think we're definitely starting to see the impact of no house shows. The wrestlers are messing up. Their timing is bad. I mean, Andrade landed foot first on Gargano's chest. Tommaso Ciampa was late for a save. I mean, there's pros out there who are normally hitting all their spots. And granted, this is a point we made prior to tonight. This is a long flight from Saudi Arabia, jet lag. They're wrestling at a time they're not used to. There's all kinds of things that are on a show like this, but it's part of a pattern that's existed, and we've commented on even back in the States. So, yeah, I think it's a continuation of something that can't be written off as just what we saw in Saudi Arabia. Ryan, anything else in the chat you wanted to bring up while I was resetting a few things? Anything else stand out topic-wise? Because we could get into the tag match for sure, and the nonsense that was.
Are you there?
I think I'm the one that needed to switch to the laptop, Eric.
Well, we're getting to it.
Now I can't hear Eric.
You can't hear me now?
Which is weird. That goes back to the original problem. But you can hear me, Eric?
I can hear you, yeah.
Who can hear who? Chat room. Let us know. Oh, this can be so good back. The chat's not talking to me. So if you can hear me and you're not telling me. Oh, you can hear both? Eric, can you talk?
I can hear you, Wade.
Oh, that's weird.
But I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, so people can hear both, but I can't. So that's a new problem.
Huh.
Eric, talk.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, people can hear both except I can't. That's a whole new problem.
Yeah, I can definitely still hear you with no problem at all. Oh, now I can't. Thanks, Ryan. What haven't we talked about? Do we want to talk about the Wyatt Six and what a mess that was? They need to find a direction for the Wyatts, right? Otherwise, we're going to get the same thing we've had with any version of the Wyatts where they're just aimless. At least they're trying something with them. That's been my thought on it. It's just, I feel like there's potential here for them to wreak havoc in the tag team division, but what they've done so far just doesn't make any sense. And why would, based on what the Wyatts have really done, why would all these tag teams be scared of them? That's what I'm having. I'm having a hard time not disconnecting from that. I'm not reading that one. Standard deviation. At least no one tried to behead anyone. I really wish I could bring somebody on. What else do you guys want to talk about? Or what do you hear some thoughts about? Yeah, Ryan, I agree. I didn't like that both the heels and the faces were destroying everyone. You know, there's ways to do this. When they had the Asuka Jade Cargill segment, you know, if you notice, Asuka attacks Jade Cargill, but she at least swings her around first and punches her in the face instead of punching her in the back. That's what a babyface does. What are my thoughts on the Wyatt Six? I think I appreciate that they are trying, and fitting them on the show in the tag division could be a way to go. But how about having them beat down all these tag teams individually in the back to build some reason for them to all be scared of them? So far, they've done nothing to these tag teams other than show up one time in the beginning, and then everyone's already mad at them.
The tag division was what I was going to talk about next, so I'm glad you did that while I was resetting things again. The idea that they're touting this as like this greatest tag team division, and they're just treating them like the women's division used to be counted in the past, where they're all in a segment together and they don't have strict. Well, they have baby faces and heels, but it's just a mess. And then you book finishes like this, and you know it's supposed to be spooky while that the Wyatts are doing it, but it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, the tag division as is not worth bragging about being the best in the industry, whatever that. It also isn't worth booking more bad finishes to accommodate tag teams that aren't over or aren't being used weird. Right. And yeah, I mean, they're all intertwined all the time. And I think that's by design. I think they think that's a cool way to get through this chapter of the tag division. But I don't know. And then the Wyatts, I mean, the use of them, I think you're right, Eric. I mean, yeah.
I don't even hate the Wyatts being involved in the tag division because it at least gives them some direction that any iteration of the Wyatts has lacked at times. So they're trying to do something, but what reason do all these tag teams have to be collectively afraid of the Wyatts? Like I was saying, why not have the Wyatts for several weeks attack these tag teams individually backstage or somewhere to where each of these tag teams has a legitimate reason to be upset with the Wyatts instead of just magically they're all afraid of them at one time. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Having separate feuds with three teams paired off, like treating it like a singles division is what I would prefer. Cavanti Smalls points that out. They should have three separate tag feuds doing slower burns. I don't know how going back to 2 hours affects that, Eric. Does a 2-hour format mean they're going to just focus in on one tag feud at a time, but maybe we don't see it every week? Or do they rotate some people off television and then rotate them? It's tough because, it's not like the tag teams, no matter what Wade Barrett says, are so deep and the fans so invested in them that they can afford to take up an hour of television with 3 separate tag feuds. They've got too many women and too many men's singles who are over. So I don't know what they do when they go back to 2 hours. But I mean, that's where a show like Main Event is kind of nice. Shout out to Mike Myers, who's covered that for years for us. Where you can do some things off SmackDown and Raw and then incorporate it in to, it's like sort of Collision is to Dynamite. Oh, this stuff has been happening on the show, and that's why this tag team, you haven't seen it if you only watch SmackDown, but they're on a hot streak, and now they're contenders, and you just kind of rotate teams in and off TV. I think that's better than, oh, we have all these people under contract, let's just have them all on the screen at once constantly, just yelling at each other like children.
Yeah, that never helps. And like you said, Los Garza seemed like they were building a little bit of momentum, and I think there's a lot of talent there. But hone some of that on Main Event, and when you hit on something, bring it over to SmackDown. And when you don't have anything, don't use them on it. Like, wait till you have something.
Yep.
Somebody pointed out that the Andrade Rey Fenix my match was very good. If we're at least talking tag teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was their and it was a 2 commercial break match, so they had more time to tell a story. But there's also, the quick moonsault where he landed, Andrade landed on Gargano's ribs, and then Ciampa was late with a save, and Gargano just kicked out, which is fine, but whatever. And then Andrade went for a boot but missed, and then he did a spinning back elbow that was a little bit off. It had its moments, but it also, I'll say this, I don't think those 2 teams or those 4 wrestlers are going to look back on this and go, yeah, let's put this on our Hall of Fame highlight video. Maybe splice out a few spots, but, it had its moments too. So just, rough night as far as just a rough stretch for WWE wrestlers. Even when matches are good, there's moments where you're like, that seems out of character, out of, atypical for people who are usually really sharp. But again, some of this might be accentuated or worse than normal just because of the Saudi travel and the whole setting there. Yep. Eric, anything else you want to bring up? I know it's been a rough show with our technical issues. It'll be smoother in the future, but anything else you want to say before we sign off here? And same to the chat.
I'd say the only thing we really hadn't mentioned really was the Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton match.
Oh yeah. We certainly should. Yep.
Again, it still felt very plotting to me. It was a lot of bells and whistles. They've had better chemistry in other matches. But the key thing that jumped out to me is I don't remember ever seeing a last whomever standing match where it felt like the referee was counting during about 85% of the match. And it really took away from it for me. I don't know how that felt to everybody else, but it was a lot. It's not a good format for exciting. Like 3 counts are exciting because it's 1, 2, kick out. But when it's 1, 2, 3, it's like, I'm sorry for dragging the podcast down to a halt, but imagine if you're watching a wrestling show and that's what you're getting over and over, as you point out, Eric. And then
eventually it's just like, it's not a great match you want to do often.
Right. And I bet you picked up on this too, but Michael Cole spoiled the ending like he tends to do. His cadence when it was about to be the time that she wasn't going to get up, it was very obvious that it was over.
Yep.
And that drives me crazy.
Yep. I'm kind of for announcers not being up on the finish, but I also then think you have to change the formula of matches. So an experienced announcer like Cole doesn't know when it's going to be a finish or not a finish. I mean, there is a predictability to the pattern in the formula of matches that I think is worth reevaluating industry-wide in terms of when do we believe a finish can actually happen? When is it obvious it's supposed to be dramatic? And yes, a lot of people in the crowd are not, as savvy as us, Eric, savvy as the people who critique and have watched as long as we have and think about it in that way. And of course, some of the stuff works and it's validating to keep doing it that way for that reason, because there's a lot of casual fans and they just don't think about it. They just react. But I do think you could adjust some of these tropes to break from things being predictable in a way where it even comes through with the announcers, where it's just obvious. It's like Cole shouldn't go a very game effort from blank and blank a minute before they lose. And that's the thing he does. Like he's not the only one. Announcers start giving credit to the wrestler for a good fight a minute or 2 before they lose. They don't do it 5 minutes into the match before, and it goes 20. It's never halfway in the match. It's right before the finish. They start trying to butter up or protect or soften the blow of a wrestler losing by talking about what a fight they're putting up. And I don't know. I mean, I get why they did it at one point, but when you do it enough, it's like cliches. It's like swearing. You do something too much. You have a justification for it individually and initially, but when it's overdone, it loses its edge. And so, yeah, and it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. Cool. Eric, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate you being on, and I look forward to having a normal, uninterrupted conversation with you next time. And
we made it through it.
Hopefully won't be
technical difficulties.
I don't know if I want to apply that phrase. I mean, we made it through. We're standing in the end, but we made it through makes it sound like it didn't just die multiple times. And I don't even know how we're going to post-produce this into a podcast. But maybe someone has phone footage of us that we can splice in, like happened in Saudi, as someone in the chat quipped. Yes, we'll be covering Night of Champions live tomorrow. I'll be writing it up on PWTorch show with Greg and Paul, and then I'll be doing the VIP roundtable and Todd. Again, VIP membership, if you're interested in hearing what I have to say along with Todd and Rich, you need a VIP membership for that. PWTorch.com/GoVIP gives you all the details on, and we appreciate that. And thanks to Eric Corbridge, thanks to the chat for helping carry things and let us know when we could be heard and couldn't be heard. And I will do some work on the computer. I think it was a combination of bad computer and bad Wi-Fi that just made everything collapse onto itself multiple times. So everybody will talk to you tomorrow in various formats.